In this video you will see crazy optimizations for a GNU/Linux system. Here, going to nano, etc fs tab. You can see here I've wrote these 4 here, out of which 3 are for the performance things. The first one here is an example of how Ramdisks are made. You can see it's mounted in mount Ramdisk. It has the size, maximum size of 1 GB. The type is tmpfs, and none just means that it does not have a device. It's a virtual file system. So this first one is an example of a RAM disk. You can just as well not have that. But these ones here, these are the crazy optimizations. You can see that the /tmp is now mounted as a RAM disk, and the size is arbitrary. You can change the size to fit your needs. This is the maximum size, not the size that will automatically. It will not use all that size by default. The files, as more and more files are put in, the size grows, and this is simply the maximum size. So you could put this to very high as long as you have enough RAM on your system. But typically these directories will not take that much RAM or size in general. You can see that tmp var cache, and I've also put home, my username, and .cache also here. These are all cache files and such things as temporary files, which means that often when the system is running, it will write data, maybe even a lot of data, into the temporary directories. But here's the thing: it will remove all of those. It will remove all of those files as soon as they have been written. So they will be written and immediately removed. So this will have the unfortunate side effect of, if you have a slow hard disk, it will be using a lot of time writing to the disk, and that will slow down your system. Your system will slow down because it's writing a lot of data to the disk. And if you have an SSD, then it will be using those cycles. I don't know what they were called, but solid state, these SSDs, they have a limited number of writes you can do to them. So it will be using your disk, it will be ruining your disk, basically, if you have an SSD. But if you have a spinning disk, well, then it will be slowing down your system immensely, because this disk is slow. The spinning disk is slow, so it will be slowing down your system. If you're using an SSD, it will be ruining the write cycles. It will be draining your disk, basically. It's just a bad thing, basically. If you have enough RAM on your system, there's no reason you shouldn't be using, like, Ramdisks. Except I don't guarantee stability. Now, there should be no reason for any of this causing any issue. I've heard that people have been doing something like this with the TMP, for example, and never having an issue. There shouldn't be an issue. Worst case scenario, you just put in a live USB stick and then go ahead and remove one of these things if it's causing you issues. That's the worst case scenario. You just go ahead and put that. Now, of course, if you are going to do something like this, you're doing it all at your own risk. I'm just showing you this for educational purposes. So you do everything at your own risk. I take no responsibility for what you do with your computer. I'm just showing how something like this would be done. Like I said, for educational purposes. So yes, something like this it's very performant because it's using the RAM. So it's only writing to the RAM, and as we know, the RAM is much faster to write to. Whereas writing to the hard disk is both slow, and in the case of SSDs, it's going to write data there and it's going to ruin it. it's going to reduce the life expectancy of the hard disk basically. So yeah, modern systems should have, like modern hardware, modern computers, they should have enough RAM to do something like this. Of course, if you are heavily RAM constrained, you don't have much RAM available, then doing something like this might not be much of a good idea. This might be very bad for you. But if you have a modern computer with modern amounts of RAM in the many 16 and above gigabytes, then this should be no issue. This should be no issue to you at all. This is something that you can do. So that's that for this video. Oh, and also be very careful with this fs tab. Make no misspellings. Do not write anything, no nonsense, because if you make a spelling mistake, that might render your system completely unbootable. That has happened to me, so be careful with what you put to the fs tab. The fs table, it's very delicate. It will break easily if you do misspellings. Do not misspell anything. So yeah, something like this. It's a crazy optimization. That's what it is. So that's it for the video.